settle all the non-believers.
Yep. Well, here it is. This is with all of the turbo parts on it. Everything's back together. And you heard me mention when I was out here before, it's holding 20 psi. No real problems. Jamie says it's all in the tune. What do you think about this setup after you've had, how long have you had this thing running?
It's been boosted about 2 months now.
Yeah? 2 months?
I drive it, yeah, at least 4 or 5 days a week.
Yeah?
And it's still, I've calculated, looking at some charts that have chamber sizes on the 1.6 head and the 2-liter head, and with the compression ratio of the stock 2-liter non-turbo, and then subtracting the chamber difference for the 1.6 head, somewhere around 9.8 to 10.2 is what the actual ratio should be, depending on how much of the cylinder head was removed. The head was done so long ago. I think I literally built that head 10 years ago. It's already got 60,000 miles on the rotating assembly and the head.
And what car did you pull that head off of?
That head came off of a 1.6 Elantra, like a 92. The block, I believe, came out of a DOHC Galant.
Okay, so this is the one that doesn't have oil squirters.
Yes, no oil squirters, no oil cooler.
Apparently no problem.
I did a data log a month or so ago when it was probably about 90 degrees outside, and I did a 3rd gear pull to about 6,500 RPMs from 3,000. When I was running about 17 psi. Then I've been steadily increasing the boost, you know, a pound or two at a time until I reach the point where any more is just overkill and it's actually backing the timing off. But I logged 1 count of knock at 6,400 RPMs with 18 pounds of boost on 10-to-1 compression with no oil squirters on a 90 to 95 degree day with the factory intercooler and the rubber hoses, and it actually still had some pretty good, I think it had about 28 degrees advance.
Nice.
It's not a lot, but it's enough. It's it had a little lifter tap here and there. It picks up phantom knock. You know, it's a stock ECU. It's gonna react differently with the 1G knock sensor. They're pretty sensitive.
Right on.
But as far as actually having real knock, it's not knocking. I think I was hitting about 1,600 and some change on the hertz at just as low as 3,800 RPMs. About 3,800 RPMs, 1,600 hertz is a lot. That's honestly, of all the builds I've done in the past 10 years, I'm actually more satisfied with this one than I am with any other thing I've put together.
Well, that's because it's probably the least expensive one that you've ever done. I mean, this is all made out of parts of other cars. Some of them are 20 years old.
Literally a box of scraps from many other cars put together. I mean, there's absolutely no brand new parts on here. Well, actually, I have bought one new part. I think yesterday I had to put a top radiator hose on it, but you know, yeah, the end of the hose was kind of collapsing and deteriorated. So I figured, well, damn it, I've actually got to buy a new part. Didn't want to, but I had to. So,
that's right. I like the way those fans look in there too.
They would not fit on the other side of the radiator. Just not enough room.
Yeah.
They will fit there pretty good, and you don't really need to do anything to hold them in there. They're just kind of wedged in there ever so slightly. And, I got them running in series because 2 of them running parallel was actually pulling so much power through the wires. They're like 16 gauge power wires going to them that it was actually heating the wire and the connector up. So I didn't want an engine fire on here, so I went ahead and wired them up in series, and then I put a coolant sending switch on the bottom of the radiator tank. It's the factory Hyundai switch I found out in the junkyard. Ran the fans in series through the switch, and there's very little current draw, and there's still plenty of air. It never overheats, even sitting still in 90 degree weather. It does not run hot. Hell, even when the hose was leaking, it was hissing out air. All you could hear was air hissing out of it. It still didn't even run hot. So I don't know how much coolant you can lose on a DSM engine before it overheats, but apparently it's a lot. I just don't know where the threshold is and don't want to find out.
Well, you know what we got to do before the season closes out, right?
Take it to Richmond Dragway.
There you go. I want to see this thing run down the track one time, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people that do too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of curious to see what it runs.